That check is fake. The bank manager did not lower her voice. Every person in the marble lobby heard her say it. Every person saw Marcus Hale standing at the counter in a faded warehouse jacket, one hand resting protectively on the shoulder of his 11-year-old daughter. The check between them was for $620,000. It isn't fake, Marcus said. It is a court-approved payment from Calder Distribution. Manager Vivian Cole pushed it back with the tip of a pen, as if touching it might stain her. Companies do not hand checks like this to men who have $12 in their account. Sophie looked up at her father. She knew the amount because she had heard lawyers repeat it for months. She also knew what it had cost. My mother died for that check, she said. The manager's expression did not soften. Please keep the child out of an adult matter. Behind Marcus, a woman in a navy suit had just entered the bank. She stopped so suddenly that the security officer beside the doors nearly walked into her. Evelyn Calder, chief executive of the company, printed across the top of the check, looked at Vivian, then at the man she had last seen across a mediation table. She stepped closer. When she spoke, her voice was quiet enough to make the room lean toward her. Did you verify the check? She asked. Or did you only verify the man holding it? Vivian's pen stopped moving. Marcus felt Sophie's fingers close around his sleeve. The check had begun with a door that would not open. 14 months earlier, at 7:18 on a rainy Tuesday morning, Marcus had been packing Sophie's lunch when his wife called from Calder Distribution's North River warehouse. Anna Hale supervised the receiving dock. She was 36 years old, fast with numbers, impatient with bad coffee, and famous in their small house for singing the wrong lyrics to every song on the radio. That morning, she did not sing. The west fire door is chained again, she told Marcus. He wedged the phone between his shoulder and ear and spread peanut butter across bread. Again, they say the alarm sensor is broken and deliveries keep tripping it. Take a picture. Already did. I sent another. Report. Marcus stopped spreading the peanut butter. Anna, if you think it's dangerous, leave. And let 60 people work here without a supervisor who will say something. That was Anna. Courage was not dramatic to her. It was a habit that made other people safer and sometimes made her late for dinner. Promise me you won't stand near that door, Marcus said. I promise. Kiss Sophie for me. I'll be home by 6. At 10:42, a lithium battery concealed inside a returned shipment ignited in the west storage section. Smoke filled the ceiling before the first alarm sounded. Workers moved toward the marked exit and found the fire door secured with a chain. Anna ran there with bolt cutters. She cut the first link while others pulled on the door. Then a storage rack, weakened by heat and overloaded beyond its rated capacity, collapsed across the aisle. 58 people escaped through the opening Anna helped create. Anna did not. Marcus learned about the fire from a breaking news alert. He called Anna 17 times while driving to North River. The police stopped him 2 blocks from the warehouse. Smoke turned the morning sky the color of dirty wool. For 6 hours, no one would tell him whether Anna was alive. Sophie waited in the school office with her backpack on her knees. At 5:26 that evening, Marcus sat beside her on a vinyl couch and delivered a sentence no parent should ever have to give a child. Mom isn't coming home. Sophie did not cry at first. She asked if they could wait until 6 because Anna had said 6. Marcus had no answer that could protect her. The first statement from Calder Distribution called the fire an unforeseeable accident. The second praised Anna's heroism. The third promised full cooperation with investigators. None mentioned the chain. 3 days after the funeral, a company representative brought Marcus a casserole, a framed photograph of Anna from an employee picnic, and a release agreement. The company offered $75,000 if Marcus waived all future claims and agreed not to discuss internal safety practices. Marcus read the first page, closed the folder, and handed it back. My wife sent 7 reports about that door, he said. The representative looked down. I am not authorized to discuss operational details. Then you aren't authorized to sit at my table. Marcus was not wealthy. He repaired loading equipment for an independent service company. Anna had earned slightly more than he did. Without her income, the mortgage consumed half his paycheck. Funeral expenses went on 2 credit cards. Sophie began waking at 2:17 every morning, the time printed on the coroner's preliminary report as Anna's estimated time of death. $75,000 would have helped. That was why the offer felt so cruel. It had been calculated to arrive when grief was expensive. Marcus hired attorney Rachel Kim, who agreed to take the case with no payment unless they recovered damages. Rachel warned him that the company had money, lawyers, and time. "I don't need them to say Anna was perfect," Marcus replied. "I need them to stop saying this could not be prevented." The case uncovered more than he expected. Anna's 7 safety reports had been received. 2 were marked resolved without inspection. A regional director had approved chaining the door temporarily to reduce false alarms and theft. The overloaded rack had failed a safety review 6 weeks before the fire. Repairs were delayed until the next budget quarter. An internal email estimated the cost of replacing the alarm system and reinforcing the racks at $148,000. The company had decided to wait. Anna's life ended inside that waiting period. One of the survivors, a forklift operator named June Talley, visited Marcus after the documents became public. She carried the yellow raincoat she had worn on the morning of the fire. A black tear ran across one sleeve where burning debris had fallen. "I was behind Anna at the door," June said. "She gave me the bolt cutters and told me to keep pulling while she went back for Luis." Marcus had heard official timelines and investigator estimates. He had never heard the final minutes from someone who knew Anna's voice. "Was she afraid?" he asked. June's eyes filled. Yes, she was terrified. She did it anyway. That answer mattered to him. Company statements had turned Anna into a fearless hero, something larger and safer than a person. But courage did not mean she had been born without fear. It meant she wanted to live, wanted to come home, and still refused to leave others trapped. June placed a small object on the table, Anna's metal name badge, darkened by smoke. "The investigators released it to me by mistake with my things. I should have brought it sooner." Marcus closed his hand around the badge. Anna's name remained visible beneath the soot. At the next legal meeting, a company attorney objected to showing warehouse photographs during mediation because they might create an emotional atmosphere. Marcus placed the badge on the table. "The atmosphere was emotional before we arrived," he said. "Your company just had offices far enough from the smoke not to feel it." Evelyn heard that sentence and ordered the photographs admitted into the internal board review. From then on, every director who discussed settlement exposure had to look at the chain door before voting. Evelyn Calder was not CEO when the fire happened. She was the founder's daughter and served as chief financial officer. She had approved the quarterly capital budget that postponed several warehouse upgrades, but the North River safety request had been buried inside a consolidated maintenance line. Her signature was on the budget. She could truthfully say she never saw the specific warning. She stopped saying it after reading Anna's reports. 6 months after the fire, the board removed the former CEO when investigators found that executives had pressured employees to alter maintenance logs. Evelyn accepted the chief executive role on 2 conditions. The company would waive confidentiality in every injury settlement connected to North River, and an independent safety monitor would report directly to the board. Some shareholders called the decision reckless. Evelyn called it an overdue invoice. The mediation with Marcus lasted 11 hours. Company attorneys discussed projected lifetime earnings, comparative liability, and statutory limits. Each phrase translated a wife and mother into a controlled financial exposure. Marcus listened until one lawyer described the original $75,000 offer as generous. He stood. "Generous?" he said. "You chained a fire exit to save money. Anna cut it open and saved 58 people. Then you came to my house before I knew how to sleep and offered me enough to be quiet. Do not call that generous." The lawyer began to answer, but Evelyn raised her hand. "He is right." She dismissed the room for 20 minutes. When they returned, the company offered a formal admission of safety failures, individual compensation for affected families, funding for long-term trauma care, and a settlement of $620,000 to the estate of Anna Hale. Marcus did not accept immediately. "If I sign," he asked, "can I still tell Sophie what happened?" "Yes," Evelyn said. "Can I show Anna's reports to the public inquiry?" "Yes." "Will the 58 workers she helped save be asked to sign silence agreements?" "No." "Then put all of that in writing." The final agreement was approved by the probate court because Sophie was a minor beneficiary. After legal fees, medical debts, and funeral expenses, the payment would be placed into 3 parts: a protected education trust for Sophie, funds to pay the mortgage, and a reserve Marcus could use to reduce his hours in care for her. It was not prize money. It was not a gift. It was the shape the law gave to a debt that could never truly be paid. Evelyn personally signed the check. On the morning Marcus went to deposit it, Sophie refused to stay with her aunt. "It has Mom's name on it," she said. "I want to come." The check was payable to Marcus Hale, administrator of the estate of Anna Hale. He carried the death certificate, court order, letters of administration, settlement agreement, tax identification document, and 2 forms of personal identification in a blue file Rachel had organized. He wore his warehouse jacket because he was going directly to work afterward. At First Commonwealth Bank, the teller recognized that the deposit required managerial approval and summoned Vivian Cole. Vivian had managed the branch for 9 years. She took pride in detecting fraud. 2 months earlier, a forged insurance check had cost the branch $40,000 and brought a humiliating reprimand from regional compliance. Since then, she had begun treating suspicion as proof. She looked at the check's amount, Marcus's $12 personal balance, and the worn cuff of his jacket. "Where did this come from?" she asked. "A wrongful death settlement." "Whose death?" Marcus glanced at Sophie. "My wife's. And you expect me to believe a distribution company wrote you $620,000. Marcus placed the blue file on the counter. "You don't have to believe me. The documents are here. You can verify them." Vivian opened the settlement agreement, saw the law firm's name, and closed it before reaching the signature page. "This account has never received a deposit over $5,000. Nothing like this has ever happened to my family before. The check stock feels wrong. Then run it through your verifier." She held it under an ultraviolet lamp for less than a second. The fibers fluoresced exactly as they should, but Vivian had already looked away. "The watermark is unclear." The teller beside her started to speak. Vivian silenced him with a look. Marcus opened the file to the court order. "Call Rachel Kim. Call Calder Distribution. Call the probate clerk. Put a 10-day hold on the money if you must." Vivian studied his identification. "Your address is different from the estate filing. We sold our house after Anna died. The new address is on the amended filing, page 4. Vivian did not turn to page 4. She pushed the check away and declared it fake. When Sophie said her mother had died for it, Vivian told Marcus to keep the child out of an adult matter. That was the moment Evelyn Calder entered the bank. She had come to meet First Commonwealth's commercial lending team about financing safety upgrades at 3 older facilities. 2 company lawyers and a bank vice president were parking outside. Evelyn walked in alone and heard a child defend the price of her mother's death. "Did you verify the check?" she asked, "or did you only verify the man holding it?" Vivian straightened. "This transaction has multiple fraud indicators. Name one feature of the check that failed." "Customer. Privacy prevents me from discussing. I am Evelyn Calder. That check is drawn on my company's account, and that is my signature." Vivian looked again. Recognition came slowly, then all at once. "Ms. Calder, I had no idea you were. That is the problem. You should not have needed me to be standing here." The teller lowered his eyes. Sophie did not. She stared at Evelyn with a fierce confusion children reserve for adults connected to their pain. Vivian recovered enough to reach for the check. "If you confirm the instrument, we can process it immediately." Marcus placed his hand over it first. "No, Mr. Hale. I understand you are upset. You called me a criminal in front of my daughter. You made her explain why her mother is dead. You do not get to turn this into a routine deposit because someone in a better suit knows my name." The bank vice president, Samuel Ortiz, entered in time to hear him. He introduced himself and asked the teller to pull the check's positive pay record. The serial number, amount, date, payee, and signature authorization all matched. The bank's internal system showed no fraud alert. Samuel asked Vivian what the ultraviolet test had shown. "The watermark appeared inconsistent," she said. The teller looked startled. "It passed." Vivian turned toward him. "Nathan, be careful." "It passed," Nathan repeated, voice shaking. "I saw the security fibers and watermark. You told me the balance made it suspicious." Samuel's expression became still. "Did you call the issuing account verification number?" "Not yet." "Did you review the court documents?" The customer's profile justified escalation. "Escalation is a hold and verification," Samuel said. "It is not a public accusation." Evelyn looked at Marcus. "What do you want us to do?" He almost laughed. For 14 months, people with titles had asked what he wanted only after deciding what they were willing to give. "I want my daughter out of this lobby." Samuel offered his office. Marcus led Sophie inside and closed the door. She sat in a leather chair too large for her and hugged the blue file to her chest. Dad, did we do something wrong by taking the money? Marcus knelt in front of her. No, then why did she look at us like that? Because she decided the story before she read the pages. Sophie's lower lip trembled. I told her Mom died for it. I heard you. That sounds like we sold Mom. The sentence broke something open inside him. Marcus sat on the carpet beside her chair. He searched for words honest enough to survive grief. No amount of money could buy Mom, and no amount could replace her. This check is not what she was worth. It is what the company owes because choices were made that hurt her and hurt us. Taking responsibility does not bring her back, but refusing responsibility would let those choices cost them nothing. Are we rich now? No. Part of it pays debts we have because she died. Part protects your future. Part gives me time to be your dad when you need me. Sophie wiped her cheek. I need you now. Then I am here now. Outside the office, Evelyn heard enough through the door to step away. She had spent months learning that accountability was not an announcement. It was the willingness to remain present while another person described the damage your institution had caused. Samuel placed Vivian on administrative leave pending review. Another manager processed the deposit with a standard hold while the court-ordered trust account was established. Marcus declined an offer to waive all future banking fees. Waive the overdraft charges from the months after Anna died, he said. Those came from automatic payments hitting before my paycheck. Your branch charged me $840 while my wife's estate was frozen. Samuel checked the records and refunded the charges. And review everyone else she accused without completing verification, Marcus added. Samuel promised he would. Do not promise me in a lobby, Marcus said. Put it in writing. Evelyn recognized the sentence. It was the same one he had used at mediation. Samuel put it in writing. When Marcus and Sophie left the bank, reporters were not waiting. There was no applause. No crowd cheering as the doors opened. Real humiliation rarely ended with music. It lingered in the silence of the car. Marcus buckled his seat belt, but did not start the engine. You still want ice cream? He asked. They had planned to stop after the deposit. Sophie shook her head, then changed her mind. Mom would. Anna had believed nearly every difficult day could be improved by mint chocolate chip. They drove to a small shop near the river and ordered 3 scoops in one bowl. Sophie placed the third spoon beside the empty seat across from them. Marcus did not tell her it was childish. Grief was love searching for somewhere to sit. Evelyn arrived 20 minutes later, alone. Marcus had not invited her, but Sophie had left the blue file at the bank, and Evelyn offered to return it. She stood beside the table. May I sit down? Marcus looked at Sophie. Sophie shrugged. Evelyn took the empty chair, but moved the third spoon carefully to the side. I am sorry about what happened in the bank, she said. You did not accuse us, Sophie replied. No, but my company created the reason you were there. Sophie studied her. Did you chain the door? Evelyn could have explained reporting structures, delegated authority, and budget aggregation. Instead, she gave the answer a child deserved. No, but I helped approve a plan that put saving money ahead of fixing dangerous things. I did not ask enough questions. Dad asks too many questions. Your dad asks the number people should have asked. Marcus said nothing. Evelyn slid the blue file toward him. The bank is reviewing the incident. So am I. Our company uses First Commonwealth branches for hundreds of employee payment cards. I want to know whether people with small balances are treated differently when they receive large injury or insurance payments. You don't need my permission. No, but I wanted you to know your point was heard. Marcus looked out at the gray river. My point has been heard by a lot of people. Anna's point was heard 7 times and ignored. Evelyn accepted the rebuke. Then the test is what happens next. Over the following month, First Commonwealth reviewed 73 fraud escalations from Vivian's branch. 14 legitimate checks had been rejected or delayed without the required verification steps. Most belonged to customers whose account histories did not fit the amount: insurance settlements, estate distributions, small business payments, and legal awards. The bank reimbursed fees and documented losses. It created a second review rule before any employee could describe a check as fraudulent to a customer. Training began with a simple distinction. An unusual transaction was a question, not an answer. Vivian resigned before the investigation ended. Nathan, the teller who contradicted her, was commended for correcting the record and later moved into fraud operations, where his job was to follow evidence instead of appearances. Calder Distribution completed every safety upgrade listed in the independent report. Evelyn tied executive bonuses to verified hazard resolution, not merely the number of reports marked closed. Photographs of repaired doors were not enough. Employee safety representatives had to test them. At Marcus's request, no building or program was named after Anna. She did not die, so your company could put her name on a wall, he told Evelyn. Keep the doors open. That is the memorial. The 58 workers who escaped through the west exit created their own remembrance. On the anniversary of the fire, they gathered outside the rebuilt warehouse, and each carried a small bolt cutter painted blue, Anna's favorite color. Marcus brought Sophie. The new west door opened with one hand. Sophie tested it 3 times. It isn't chained, she said. It never will be again, Evelyn replied. Marcus watched workers move safely through the doorway and understood something he had resisted. Money could not measure Anna, but accountability could still change the world she had left behind. He used the settlement exactly as planned. The mortgage was paid down, not because he wanted a larger house, but because Sophie needed one home that could not be taken by a missed paycheck. Her education trust was funded. He reduced his workweek by 1 day so he could attend therapy appointments with her. He paid the funeral debt that had been gathering interest since the week he buried his wife. He kept his warehouse jacket. 6 months after the bank incident, Sophie's class was assigned to write about an object that represented their family. Some children brought heirloom watches or photographs. Sophie brought a photocopy of the $620,000 check. Her teacher worried the choice was too private and asked if she wanted another object. Sophie shook her head. She stood before the class and said, "This check is not what my mom was worth. You cannot put her worth on paper. It is proof that a big company finally admitted a small safety report mattered. It is also proof that some people think money only belongs to you if your clothes look expensive." Then she showed the class Anna's first safety report. It contained 11 sentences and a photograph of the chained door. "This paper mattered more," Sophie said. "If people had believed it, we would never have needed the check." That evening, Marcus found her speech in her backpack. At the bottom, beneath the teacher's note, Sophie had written Evelyn's question from the bank. "Did you verify the check, or did you only verify the man holding it?" Marcus read it at the kitchen table where Anna used to sort bills. He realized the question had followed them far beyond the bank because it named a mistake that happened everywhere. People examine lives through shortcuts. A balance became character. A jacket became credibility. Grief became an amount. A worker's warning became an expense. The morning at First Commonwealth had changed when one person refused the shortcut. Evelyn had not asked whether Marcus deserved the money. A court order, a settlement, and a signed check had already answered that. She had asked whether the manager had examined evidence or merely judged the person standing before her. Vivian had no answer because the check had passed every test. The signature was real. The court order was real. The debt was real. Most painfully, the reason for it was real. And no worn jacket, low balance, or angry accusation could make Anna Hale's life, or the truth of what happened to her, fake.